How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. With me today is a very special guest who I actually got to meet in Dallas at the Dallas Fan Expo. Josh, thank you so much for being here, dude. He's one of my good friends and just an overall really cool guy. We just got done with Pride Month, so I'm a little late to the game, but we're going to go over a couple topics today that I really wanted to get your take on because, like I said, you're just an overall great dude and very intelligent when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I wanted to get your take. But the first being this quote from Tom Taylor that says, "I'm a writer, you know. There were things that were like, okay, this has to happen by coming out day. And I would have loved a little bit longer for Jon and Jay to be together before the kiss. But having said that, the importance of that moment far outweighs slight pacing issues, you know?" So with that being said, this is from an interview on one of the articles that he did, and he's talking about the issue that got so much news coverage and so much press about Jon Kent, this new Superman, having a bisexual relationship or a gay relationship with Jay Nakamura. So with this being said, though, do you think that this quote comes off a little disingenuous, that they had a deadline, that they wanted to make this issue strictly for like a coming out day, if that makes sense?
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of a twofold with this. I think the fact that you're coming in and saying, hey, we want this done by this date, definitely from the company standpoint is more so of propaganda in a way. We want to make sure we hit this timeline so we can get these media outlets involved so we can get this type of press. I think Tom Taylor's stance is a little more genuine in him saying that he wished he would have had more time for natural development. And that I can appreciate. But yeah, I think it falls on either side of the spectrum, and with this in particular. I think the big issue that I have here isn't necessarily this moment, but the book as a whole. Because if you read this book as a whole, and if you've gone through these issues, the entire focus, and it seems the entire purpose of this book is just to explore Jon and his sexuality. And that's been put front and center above anything else. So I think that ties into it as well. And I think that's where you can kind of see some issues coming into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a great point that you make, man, is like, this wasn't just a moment in time. Like, it seems like this whole series has been around nothing but the sexuality of the character. So with that being said, do you think that makes him like more interesting and like, does this make people want to read the book more so?
Well, I guess that depends on who you are and deciding if it's going to make you want to read the book or not. And my stance, from my opinion, I don't think it makes him more interesting. I think it's an element of who he is, but I don't think it adds anything that's going to say, hey, go pick up this book. And, I think that's where you have to kind of look at things. I think right now the LGBTQ plus community has this idea that their sexuality defines who they are. And I'm not of that belief. I don't have that mindset. I think it can be an element of who you are, but I don't think it defines you. And I think if something as simple as I'm gay or I'm bi is going to make you interesting, then quite frankly, I feel sad for you because I think there's more to you as a person than that. And I think where this comes in from a writing standpoint is the writers are approaching Jon as a character from the standpoint of he's gay. This is what defines him. This is what makes him interesting. And sure, maybe for an issue, but for an arc or ongoing story, that gets old real quick.
That is such another great point, and thank you for saying that, because like the people that I meet and the people that I know and the reasons why I have these great relationships with women, men, people of all different genders and sexes and races is because of who they are at their core. It's their character that stands apart from, their character is like, what are they going to do in times of trial? Or what are they going to do in times of hope or sadness? Like, how are they going to, are their actions going to support what they're actually saying? So much of that is who you are at your core. I do think that there are more to people. So I really do appreciate you saying that. And speaking of more than just meets the eye, Midnighter, who is one of your favorite superheroes, I wanted to get your take on why he's done well and why we see this juxtaposition between Jon maybe not getting as much attraction or as much love as maybe we see Midnighter getting, or vice versa.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of, I think a couple of elements come into play here. I think part of it has to do with the content and media that you're reading. So in this case, it's superhero comics. And I do think you can have romance elements tied to comics, but I think when you come into a superhero comic, you're wanting some type of superheroics. So to a degree, you want to see a hero go through a hero's journey. You want to see them struggle and overcome, an obstacle or a villain or foe, whatever that might be. And hopefully get some growth out of it too. Like, you can't just repeat the same thing over and over again. Your story has to go on a journey. With Midnighter in particular, I think one of the reasons I like him is he breaks all the stereotypes of a gay character that you would typically see from writers writing gay characters. And this isn't to say that there's anything wrong with these things, but I think, the way he presents himself, it's not effeminate. He doesn't lead with his romantic relationships. He is a total badass. So if you've never read the comics, you definitely have to pick that up and check it out. But it's right away. It's just 3 hits that are completely different than if you asked someone to write a gay character what they would get. I think you can even look at this from a different perspective of Tim Drake. So one of the Robins, he recently came out. And the moment he came out, people that were writers or artists for DC even had comments of, oh, good, now he's interesting. But they've taken away all the elements that made him who he was, in my opinion, prior to this. And now all they focus on is he's bisexual or he's gay. So I think those 2 aspects kind of come into play here. But, you're talking earlier about their sexuality not defining them. If I'm reading a character and I can't figure out who they are at their core and what drives their beliefs, then I think you have a problem with your character. And if your defining thing is I'm gay, that's not going to decide what decisions you make or why you make them. So, that's kind of this underlying basis of what would give the foundation for a character to want to be something else or need to be something else. Otherwise, you're just hollow and you have this aspect.
Well, yeah, because everyone is an individual and everyone is going to act differently in certain situations. I'm a Marine and I'm a Christian, but that doesn't mean that another Marine and another Christian is going to make the same decisions or be the same person as I am, just because we have those similar qualities or similar traits or whatnot. So that's a really interesting point that you make. The last quote that I wanted to bring up from that same interview is Tom says, "We somehow managed to keep people engaged without actually having Jon punch anyone for 6 issues." I think that's really important as well. So we have a young bi guy who also is just the sweetest, most empathetic, nurturing guy who doesn't want to hurt anyone. And I think that's far more heroic than somebody punching a supervillain in the face.
When this quote first came out and I read this interview, I remember immediately thinking, you don't understand Superman. Because he's talking about how Jon is empathetic, but Superman's empathetic. That's what he's known for being. Even if you look at the characters around him and who he inspires, you can look at another hero, Nightwing. Dick Grayson, the reason he stepped away from being like Batman was because he saw the flaws in Batman and he saw the benefits of being more empathetic like Superman. And that's why he chose to be more empathetic. It's just odd, and if you go through a history, you've had so many writers. When you have a character that's been around for 80 plus years, you're going to get different variations of them. But with Superman in particular, there's so many examples of him choosing or trying not to resort to violence to solve a problem before he resorts to violence. And even saying it's violence is, I think it sets a tone. You could even say defense, like if he doesn't physically defend himself or defend the planet or whoever he's there. There's a YouTube channel called High Top Films, and the guy that runs the channel did a breakdown of what's wrong with Zack Snyder's Superman. And I know this is gonna ruffle some feathers, but he goes through this. Great. He goes through this as an example, discussing Superman is a being of purity, and he's going to try to resolve whatever he can with conversation whenever he can. And even in Zack Snyder's Superman, he never does that. He tries once and then goes straight for I'm gonna have to kill this guy. Zod. So I think just hearing those 2 elements, for me, it's man, you don't understand Superman, because that's exactly what Superman is. And what makes it worse is they've written Jonathan in a way of he opposes his dad for who he is, not realizing that he's trying to be exactly what his dad is. So
Right.
that's where my stance is on that. And it just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm just like, man, like Superman is so good and you're underselling him so terribly here.
Yeah. Dude, I will empathize with you as well. I think Superman fans across, the world that heard that quote probably were like, what? Yeah, exactly. You don't understand this character at all. So yeah, man, I think his humanity is what keeps him grounded. His compassion and patience and empathy towards humanity are really the great things that what make him the Blue Boy Scout. But anyway, yeah, man, I really want to thank you for coming on. I think your points that are brought to these quotes and to this article really are eye-opening, and that's exactly why I wanted to have you on. So thank you so much for being here, and thanks for talking about this. We got a long way to go before Jon starts to get interesting, right? But
oh man, yeah. Well, we have a foundation of Jon being interesting, so all you got to do is get elements of that from Super Sons and maybe. And I just want to say too, you and we are both very much people of like we like conversation, right? We like to have kind of I don't want to say discourse, but I think we both seek out opinions that vary from ours. So if you watch this and you have a varying opinion, like I'm sure Max is cool if you put it in the comments. Like it'll start some good conversations because there might be a perspective we don't see. As of yet, I've heard multiple perspectives and I haven't had anyone give me an opposing perspective that I agree with. But yeah, I'm all for it, and of course, I'm always down to come and talk with my brother from another mother, man. Like
I know, right? Well, thanks, dude. I do welcome discourse, so if you guys want to put something in the comment section below, please let either Josh or myself know. Don't go bother him on his Twitter or anything. Just leave it in the comment section. We want to keep it solely here, but we are open to those conversations because yeah, man, this is an interesting topic, and I think it's really important that we talk about this stuff and leave it open for people to have discourse with us because we're not always right. There are always different opinions, and sometimes I might be able to see something that someone else has brought to my attention later. So but as of right now, these two quotes I just wanted to cover because they didn't feel as authentic and genuine as I wanted them to be. But
yeah, definitely not. There are some undertones there for sure.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you again for being here, brother. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.